What's up everyone? Today we're going to do some knee rehab or Rehab, and I'm primarily going to focus on my left knee. And I feel like lately when I've been getting into the squat position and just walking around in general, it almost feels like this knee here is like twisted and wound up and all the tissues there are sort of bundled together. And I think in large part it has to do with just some junk, as I like to call it, some junk happening here, which is just tightness, and just generally the quad is sort of wrapping itself up and into the patella, and I'm getting a lot of patella discomfort as well. So what I'm going to do is wrap this knee and then get into some pause squats and sort of shimmy around a little bit and groove around in the hole while in the squat position. And basically we're just going to do some rehab work today. Not going to get too heavy. The primary focus is to alleviate the discomfort in my left knee. And I was actually sent these knee straps here from Armstrong America. So you can have a look at the link in the description below. Also, I'll annotate the screen with their website if you want to have a look. They have some great knee straps there, and you can go pick them up for relatively cheap. And it's a great way to firstly use straps when you're doing squats and sort of heavy movements. But it's also a great way to perform knee flossing and just knee rehab in general by way of compression. So we're going to get to that right now, and let's see how. So I'm going to get started by wrapping my left knee first, because that's the primary sort of issue I want to address. Now, you don't necessarily have to use knee straps when wrapping your knee. You can use what's also called voodoo floss, which is basically like almost an elastic band that you can perform a similar sort of wrapping technique with and just compress and alleviate some of the tension and sort of reduce inflammation as well, just using the approach of compression around the knee. So let's get right into it here, and I'm going to include some links in the description below to other people wrapping their knees in case you're just curious how others are doing it as well. And I'm going to show you right now how we can get this done. Right at the tip of the quad here, so it's right above the kneecap, and then I'm going to wrap my way and then work my way down to the patella, and then sort of all in this vicinity below the kneecap as well. But for the most part, we're going to leave a lot of the kneecap itself exposed, and we're really just going to address the tissues all surrounding it. You want to keep it relatively tight while you do this, so give it a little pull and don't be afraid to feel that squeeze, that compression. See, I've wrapped up my knee. It's looking pretty good. I left the kneecap itself exposed. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this, especially if you're training and you're actually wrapping your knees with compression for the purpose of actual lifting, for squatting. What I'm doing right now, though, is wrapping my knee for compression purposes to try and loosen up some of the tissue there. So we're going to get into some movements right now where I'm going to show you how, once you've wrapped your knee with compression with either sleeves, with either straps or with a floss, like an elastic band, I'm going to show you how you can sort of work this once you feel your knee is wrapped nice and tightly. Basically, you can use lunging movements where you're just basically sort of leaning forward and drawing the knee itself over the midpoint of your front foot that you're working on. And what this will actually do is just sort of stretch out all this muscle here, but while maintaining the compression. So that's going to help sort of relieve a lot of tension in the area. So I'm going to use the actual bench right now to do that. You don't have to use a bench if you don't have one. You can stand up on some books. You can do it on the floor. If you're doing it on the floor, you basically have to just sort of remember to kind of lean into the movement, and you almost want to try and push the knee out as you're doing this. And I like to do it in a circular movement. So you're almost like leaning forward, pushing the knee out. Forward, pushing the knee out. And I'm going to do that on the bench right now. It's also very effective that way. And you can actually get into a motion where you're physically twisting your knee when you do this as well. So I'm going to do some twisting as we get at this. So now that we've done some twisting and some lunging and some wrapping above and below the kneecap, what I'm actually going to do is wrap both of my kneecaps. I'm going to go for full coverage, and I'm going to be keeping my legs straight while I wrap them. That way I can actually wrap the kneecap itself. And I'm going to be doing this, getting back into a little bit more twisting and lunging, but then from there I'm going to get into some squats, lightweight, and I'm going to be holding the bottom position of the squat. And really we're not going to work up to anything more than maybe 5 reps, and we're going to keep everything relatively light. So let's get right to that. So you see I've got full coverage of my entire leg, and the knee is entirely covered, and I'm going to get over to the other side now. Now both knees are covered, ready to go. Let's move into some squats. So that pretty much does it for the day. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you appreciated my Rehab. I will be incorporating more of these into my training routine now that I had these knee wraps. These are really nice. And if I'm just to give them a general review, I'd say they're pretty damn good quality. They felt really comfortable. And just the material, it seems to breathe really nicely. When I actually removed them from my knee, I'm not sweating profusely. And actually, this feels a lot better now. It feels a lot less gunked up, or like a lot less junk is happening in there. So I feel more comfortable getting down into the squat position. So I'm going to continue doing more rehab work for the day, but that'll pretty much do it for our Rehab. And again, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you again in that next one.